lots of meetings where we do lots of talking, and then there's nothing really comes out in terms of wins. So it would be good, I think, that if we can give Jason 3 wins to take away, that will help improve.
Like every challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, like the benches, those kind of things, where we can actually have something productive come out of the meeting. So that's, by the end, that's what we'll come up with, 3 ideas for Jason to take away for us. But just moving on now to the question and answer session. So we've had some questions that have been submitted, and I'm going to try and tie them all together. So the first series of questions will be around, obviously, the council tax. So we've had a question from Amanda Harmon, who can't be here. She says, can you advise how the 15% increase in council tax is a good idea for residents of Croydon? You say it wasn't something you took lightly, but residents can't even afford to heat their homes, feed their children. How do you expect us to pay for the council's mistakes? When we pay for services we don't even receive half the time. And then Jill Porthwick, do you want to read yours, or do you want me to read it for you? Right, okay, so hang on a minute, I'll pass you the mic.
Yes, at the last hustings you spoke about coming to talk to us and liaise with the community, and that you would do some things here in Thornton Heath. What I ask is, specifically, what is your short-term and a long-term plan that you have for Thornton Heath, especially in regards of the light of the 15% increase in council tax, as this shouldn't be a penalty for the incompetence in the past as highlighted in the Penn report. And I'd just like to say I've been here 40 years and I've seen vast changes, not to the good, unfortunately.
Okay, so is there anyone else who would like to specifically ask a question in relation to the 15% council tax?
My pension's only not 10%. 10%.
If everyone can just if everyone can just wait until we pass the microphone around, so everyone will get their chance.
Well, I guess it wasn't your administration that caused this mess. It was definitely time for a change, and it's good to see you here, but I'm struggling to find out how other boroughs like Thurrock, who are in a similar mess to Croydon, can only get away with 10% rise, and we're being hit with 15% rise. It's it just seems ludicrous to me.
Okay, so Graham, if you can take the mic. Because Jason's noting down the questions, so he'll basically answer them all in one go.
I'll try to.
Yeah, try to.
I think there's some confusion on how the 15% figure actually came around. I know that in November in the budget papers there was a mention of and above the threshold increase, but nobody actually questioned you on what the amount was going to be. And Neil Party questioned it. I don't understand how you got to 15%. When you went to government, did you say we need 15%? Well, the government said, yes, you can do that, and you'll have to do it at 15%. I don't understand how you can get away without having a referendum because you're above the threshold.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else who wants to speak about the council tax? Anyone else? Okay.
Thanks very much. There's lots of different kind of angles there, and I will try and cover them all off, and I will, if I miss something, please, tell me, and we'll try and cover that as well. Can I just firstly say that it saddens and upsets me that we're having to do this, that we're in a position where, as a local authority, we are one of the poorest, worst performing, financially moribund local authorities in the country. We all know where that is, but that is the context of where we are today, is that as a local authority, we are in a big mess. And that's not the fault of anyone in this room, it's not the fault of the council taxpayers of Croydon. Croydon, but it's the reality of where we are as a local authority. And I know it will be difficult for many residents, and I know it will be difficult for older people, younger people, people with families, people who are already struggling. I mean, if I could just touch on the support for residents. So we appreciate that it will be difficult for some residents. So there is a council tax support scheme that exists already, and that's a £33 million scheme, which residents can apply to. Many residents are already on that, and clearly if the circumstances change, others can apply for that. The other thing that we built in this year, which we wouldn't normally have, is a hardship fund, and that's another £2 million fund, a hardship fund which residents can apply for. So we've tried to, well not tried, we have put additional support in to help residents who may struggle with the increase in council tax. So I do appreciate it's a very difficult thing, but we have to get Croydon's finances back on track, because at the moment what is happening is we are borrowing more money every year, and in borrowing more money that is costing us more money long term.
Who's been held to account for this mess?
If you want to ask a question, I did ask if anyone wanted to ask a question, and you didn't ask a
This
question.
has arisen from what...
No, but the thing is that we can't just interrupt all the time, because otherwise we won't get through the answers.
So that's kind of the background of where we're at, and I get people are upset, and I think it's a very difficult decision, and frankly, it kind of would be easier to just stick at 5%, borrow a load of money, cut a load of services. That's not the answer. I want to get Croydon back to being financially sustainable as a local authority, a council that can look after itself. Because at the moment, we are reliant on government handouts and bailouts every year to keep us going. And if we don't fix this situation, every year we'll be declaring bankruptcy, and every year we'll be going to the government with a begging bowl to give us more money. How did we come up with 15%? Essentially, by going through the budgets, we have a £60 million black hole in our budget year after year after year. If we get the government to write off £540 million of our debt, that brings in or reduces our cost by £38 million. And the council tax increase of 15% brings in £22 million, £2 million of which we're using for the hardship fund. So that essentially gives us the £60 million hole that we have repeatedly running year after year through our medium-term financial strategy. So that's kind of where this has happened. The other thing that, to be really clear, this is the one and only time that my administration will be applying to the government to go above the cap, whatever the cap may be. So in the future, next year, the cap will be there. We're assuming at the moment it will be a cap of 5%. We will not be asking government to go through the cap again. This is once and once only. And that's why we've done it, so we know exactly where we are. Other authorities have applied to go through the cap this year. Slough and Thurrock have both gone up 10% in total, and it may well be that those authorities will be looking to go through the cap again. I don't know. That's for those authorities to deal with. The rules allow for you to go to government and say, I want to go through the cap. And in November, when we declared bankruptcy for the coming year, we said that we would need to go to government to go through the cap, and that's what we did. Went to government to go through the cap, went to government, asked for this extra money, spoke about fair funding, spoke about how we could reduce interest payments, etc. So it's a whole package of measures that we've put forward. Coming on to accountability, which is the other thing that really understandably residents are upset about, is who's going to be held to account for this? We didn't create this problem, we didn't do this to Croydon. Who's going to be held to account? And I think the Penn report takes us a long way on that journey.
I promise that.
I think it's died.
Can you hear me without?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the Penn.
Could you stand?
Yeah. So the Penn report was the thing that has been around for a long time. The Penn report was the investigation into what went wrong at the council. I pledged that I would print or publish the Penn report. It's taken longer than I would have liked. I would have liked to have published it almost straight away, but we've had to go through a long legal process of ensuring that we don't end up putting the council in a position where we end up being sued for defamation or all sorts of things. So we've had to go through a long legal process, but the Penn report has now been published, and the Penn report has been published virtually verbatim. There's about 6 lines that have actually been redacted in that report, and they're very, very minor things that have been redacted. So the report is there in full, and I know Andrea's done a full analysis of it. So that's not a get out of jail free card, but what that is, it gives us a number of recommendations. That's going to committee later this month. And from there, we will be looking at, do we send this report to the police? Do we send this report to professional bodies? Do we pursue the people that have created these problems in our borough and take it further? The other thing that's coming forward is the Kroll report, and this is the fraud report that was undertaken into Fairfield Halls and how the 70 million was spent at Fairfield Halls. So later this month in March, we're expecting to receive the Kroll report as well. And I think the Kroll report will have more information about who did things, how they did it, where they did it. And again, we will then need to take some decisions about how we move that forward. So I am really keen that we hold people to account who caused the problems here in Croydon. That's not necessarily going to mean get our money back, because frankly the money has been wasted. Croydon Park Hotel bought and sold at a loss. Brick by brick, 200 plus.
Thank you.
Do you want me to carry on standing? No. Sit, stand. So brick by brick, over £200 million given to brick by brick to develop property. The reality is, with brick by brick, we are going to lose tens of millions of pounds on that venture. So again, money that's gone. Fairfield Hall, £70 million spent on a refurbishment, when most of us look and think, well, where did that money go? Again, the money's gone. So we're not going to get our money back, but what I'm really determined and really want to do is to hold the people to account that did it. So it's not right, it's not fair, but if we can hold someone to account, then I think we're some way towards having some closure on this, because I think as a borough we've gone through so much, and as residents we've gone through so much, and we're continuing to go through that. It would be nice to draw a line in the sand and actually write, that was a terrible piece of our history, we are now moving on, we're moving to the future, and we're going to look at restoring our borough and getting our borough back on track. So that's what I'm really keen for us to do. So that's in the Penn report. As I say, 15%, it's a tough pill, but I think it's a necessary pill. I think the options are very low for us at the moment. We've got very little wriggle room to do anything, because, as I said earlier, we either borrow more or we cut more. We're trying to protect services for the most vulnerable, for adults and children in the borough. We're trying to change the way we do things, so we do things more efficiently, which should save us money in the current year and in future years. But this is a step towards getting Croydon back in control of Croydon's finances and helping us to move forward as a borough. And I hope that in a year or two, when we look back and say, yeah, 15%, but the streets are clean, the graffiti's gone, the place feels better, I'm actually proud to call this place home, then I hope that we're then on a journey to recovery for the town. I think that probably covered all the questions that came in.
Yeah, I think so. If I can I wanted just to ask you a question in relation to the Penn report and the Kroll investigation. I don't quite understand, and I know obviously you were the mayor when this decision was made, but why has it taken so long for the Penn report to be published? I understand what you're saying regarding legal issues around what was in the report and having to give the people who are criticising the report the opportunity to respond. But no one's actually named in the report. There are no actual names in the report. And also, were the police not called in at the time? Why is one of the recommendations to refer it to the police 2 years after it happened? Why were the police not called in 2 years ago to start the investigation? And then secondly, the same with the Kroll investigation. The council are paying a firm of private investigators to investigate the Fairfield Hall scandal. But why are the police not investigating both these issues? Now, all I can see is that the former leader, Hamida Ali, did pass a copy of the report in the public interest written by Grant Thornton to the now former Borough Commander, Dave Stringer, for review and advice on the next steps. So this was a significant time ago. And then a quote from the Metropolitan Police saying they have not received any specific allegation but did not rule out an investigation in the future, and that they were aware of the publicity around the report in the public interest. No allegations of fraud have been received and there is no police investigation at this time. Why has the council allowed 2 years to elapse? And will either of these reports actually ever result in anything being passed to the Crown Prosecution Service? And why was malfeasance in public office not pursued when all this scandal first emerged?
Thank you very much, and a number of questions there. I mean, no one's named in the Penn report, but it's clear who people are because their job titles are there. So whether it be the cabinet member for finance or the director of whatever it may be, chief exec. So whilst no one is physically named in the Penn report, their job titles are there, and it's very clear who is being spoken about at the various pieces of evidence. I mean, you know, the report has kind of been, I'm not going to say it's been in my control, but it's been in my area since May last year. And I have very much been pushing to get the report released, get it out into the public. What we have had to do is go through this maximisation process where the report has gone to those named individuals, albeit by job titles, and said, you know, this is what we're going to publish. They come back and say, no, this is untrue, that's untrue. So if we were to take that on face value, we would start redacting great chunks of the report, and the report would become almost useless overnight. We didn't want to do that, so a lot of work has gone into actually where someone says, I didn't say this, we've actually, you know, the research has been done to find out, well, did they say that or not? So there's a lot of evidence sitting in the background. So that's what's been done around that. That's then got the report published. Now it's published, we can look at the recommendations. I think if the police had been brought in earlier, they may not have been able to have substantiated some of the claims that are made in there. And some of the stuff in there is pretty wild about, you know, buying aircraft hangars in Biggin Hill and adding 5,000 homes to the council tax base in order to increase the income figures so that it looked better, you know, pretending we had income that we didn't have, and the various other things that have been done over time. I think the reality is that we kind of have to give evidence to the police to say, here, this is what the problem is, we think you should investigate. What happened previously, the previous leader sent a copy of the report to the Borough Commander, and that was all that happened. She sent a copy and that was that. And no investigation was requested.
Do you feel though that she should have, at that time, it should have been, you know, a report of an allegation of fraud or, you know, malfeasance in public office?
Yeah, I do. And as leader of the opposition, leader of the Conservative opposition at the time, we actually took a motion to council that this be handed to the police and asked the police to investigate. The council at the time voted that down. So the Labour Council voted that motion down to refer it to the police for investigation. So all that happened is a copy was given to the police with no request for investigation. So we tried to force that in opposition. As I say, a lot of work has gone into releasing the Penn report, and you know, a few weeks ago we were saying we're going to release the Penn report, and it was, oh, it's all going to be redacted, there'll be nothing in there. You know, it's been printed virtually in its full extent, and you know, I'm hoping it will then go on to the police, and I'm hoping there will be an investigation. I'm hoping the Kroll will bring forward more information. The Kroll was a fraud investigation that was put in place by the monitoring officer at the time, who felt that the potential for fraud needed to be investigated. So that's why that was undertaken at that particular point in time.
Why was that not reported to the police?
I think you would be saying to the police, we think there's something wrong here, and I think the public bodies, I think there's and the police would need to answer it maybe more than me, but I think there's an onus on a public body to give the information to police to say there's wrongdoing here, rather than the police having to kind of investigate it fresh without any information. But that's kind of my take on it. I think that there's a requirement on us to give them the information, to give them the basis of an investigation. So I very much hope that the police will be investigating all of these matters further.
But it's very much a hope rather than an actual...
Yeah, I can't tell the police to investigate. What I want to do is, it's got to be a committee decision, so it's not for me to say this is what happens. It's a committee decision, goes to committee later this month, and I'm hopeful that the committee will do the right thing. It will then go to the police and we will pursue it. I'm as keen as anyone to hold people to account for what's happened.
Okay, so there's a lady at the back. Is your question around the Penn report? Okay, can I come back to you? Because there are a couple of people who want to speak about the Penn report, so if I could just get their questions. Yeah, the Kroll report, when will it be published?
The Kroll report goes to committee later I'm hoping it goes to committee later this month. We'll then need to decide how and when it gets published. Right now I don't know is the honest answer. I'm not trying to be cagey about any of this stuff, but the reality is that we are dealing with legal issues. We need to do it in the right way. I don't want to fetter the council's discretion in something coming out of this. So I have to be very careful in what I say. I don't want to be costing me or the council money for defamation, etc. Because there's a lot of defamation lawyers sending lots of letters in the background around all of this. And we have to be very careful. I have to be very careful about what I say in public. And I wouldn't wish to be predetermining a committee decision that's due to happen later this month.
Okay, who else wants to say something? Can you just stand up and shout? We need to give you the microphone.
First, who's the committee that is represented? If anybody in the report on the committee, will be voting for this?
So it's the Appointments and Disciplinary Committee who will actually see this. So that's a committee of 6 members. So there's 3 Conservative members, so councillors, 3 Conservative members, and then 3 Labour members. I chair that committee, so I have the casting vote on that committee. So it's a committee of 6, and I have a casting vote. Should we end up with a split decision?
You said no one's been appointed. Didn't people, councillors, change position throughout the estimate, so it's hard to pinpoint if you say, this person, if you just give a title, it's hard to actually
No, the Penn report is a period of time, and it talks of, the people that held those offices were one person in each office through that period of time. So it is clear who is being spoken about. Because we have to be careful about legalities and things like that. So I know it sounds really convoluted, and I'm trying to hide it, and I'm trying to be secretive. But we just have to be incredibly careful. There are a lot of lawyers involved in the background.
I think it doesn't sound convoluted or that you're covering up or anything. It's just odd because
publishing a report about people, but you're not naming them, but you're saying their job titles. It's a bizarre way of doing it.
I agree in that, but I have to take the advice. I don't have to, I suppose. I've been given lots of advice, legal advice, and I'm following that legal advice.
It just sounds like basically people who want to be held accountable the right way. So you know what?
Okay, I'm sorry, did you want to say something about the Penn report? Great.
Just quickly on the, it seemed to me that I was disappointed when the time it took to actually publish it. It seemed to be CEO of council that was holding things back.
Was it what, sorry?
Chief Executive, Catherine Caswell.
No, I mean, Catherine Kurzweil, as Chief Executive, she's not held things back. She's put a huge amount of effort into getting this thing published. I just want to reiterate that we want to get this right and we want people held to account. So we need to go about it in the right way. You know, the people we're talking about did things in the wrong way and we know what the end result is. We've got to do this in the right way so that we hopefully get the right results at the end of the day. I can't guarantee what those results are, but what I can, promise and pledge is that I will do everything I can to get those people to be held to account for what they've done to our borough. And it's councillors and officers